The UK has had six prime ministers since 2016, since Brexit. Boris Johnson, Theresa May. I mean, this isn't necessarily in order, but let's do it in order. Fine. Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, Rishi, man like Rishi Sunak, Keir Starmer, and then the man in charge right now, Andy Burnham. And since Brexit, the UK has just deteriorated. It is sad to see. By the way, I'm flying over Bradford. Well, I'm on my way to Bradford. I was asked to check out the city next in the UK. So we're flying there. We're going to be flying through Manchester, Liverpool as well, checking out the stadiums there. But yes, Andy Burnham, is he actually going to fix anything? Guys, I'm sorry to disappoint, but he's not. He's not. Unfortunately, his policies are those of essentially a socialist, a communist, and those of us who have studied history know that communism doesn't work. I looked online, I searched his policies, and he's actually further left than Keir Starmer, which is worrying. It's very worrying. I'm going to take you through some of his policies, especially his economic ones, and explain why they're not going to work. First and foremost, we have to start with this whole devolution thing. His plan is to essentially remove London from having the focus of all the political power in the UK. His idea is that if other local authorities, if other cities can spend their budgets how they wish, it will lead to better outcomes for them. Now, those of you who watch my other economics videos will know that it doesn't sound too dissimilar from what I've talked about in terms of not having a centralized power, not having centralized government, but not exactly. Not exactly. The local authorities are still going to have an influence over the economy. They're still going to tax people. In fact, I'd argue they probably tax them more. I would argue taxes are going to rise because of this, because, well, if they're going to say, oh, they want to raise the level of, or the quality of living in every single local authority, well, some local authorities simply do not have enough people. They do not have enough people to raise the required amount of tax. And unfortunately, unfortunately, politicians think that by simply taxing more, it would equate to higher revenue. But that's not how it works. That is not how it works. In fact, I would argue that as they end up raising taxes on people in these smaller communities, it very well may end up leaving them barren. It may end up relocating to other cities, worsening the condition in in the already struggling counties. So already that's not going to work. Already that's not going to work. First and foremost, what he needs to do is get the spending down. They have to cut the spending. The UK doesn't have a revenue problem, it has a spending problem, similar to all countries across the West. Similar to all of them across the West. They have a spending problem. The whole welfare system is jacked. The NHS doesn't work, it's broken. The social system, it's got people living off it for free. All those of us who are working our socks off are only marginally better off than those on social security. than those on social funds, the benefit system. So if you go and ask people who are on benefits, they'd actually tell you, look, it's not even worth it for them to come off it and find a job. Because the moment they do, they end up losing those benefits, and the taxman comes for most of their earnings. So they're better off just staying on the benefits. They don't pay taxes on the benefits. I must say, the UK does look nice from up here. I really do have to say, from a distance, it's a beautiful country. From a distance. Yes, you can see them up there. Oh, I actually think we've flown past Bradford City Stadium. I know the person who requested that I fly over Bradford would be interested in seeing the stadium. So let me just head back so we can get a view of that. And the other interesting point about the UK's dilemma with its prime ministers is that only half of them have been voted in over that period. Only half. We need to come down. And the people voted in were Theresa May, Boris Johnson, and Keir Starmer. The rest weren't elected by the public. So loads of people are calling for another general election, but they're not going to listen. They are not going to listen to the cries. They're simply not going to listen to the cries. And for me, the main thing about Burnham is that he insists on government intervention, on state intervention in the economy. I would highly recommend, if you haven't seen it yet, to watch the video I did on how inflation, deflation, and hyperinflation occur. And you will see that most of the ills of the economy, if not all, are caused by government intervention. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's start with the utilities companies. He wants to bring the utilities into the public sector, so for the government to take ownership of the utilities companies. I believe there's also a plan to do the same for the rail industry with Great British Railways. Alright, there's Bradford City Stadium over on the left there. And it's just not going to work because there is no incentive for the government to spend wisely. And for them, the concept of price doesn't exist because they can always print more. They can always print more currency. They can always borrow more. They can always borrow more. So whatever they do and try to make utilities cheaper for the rest of us is going to backfire. It's simply going to backfire. Alright, that's Bradford Stadium. Looks a bit run down. Try and bank harder. That's it over there. Alright, on our way to Manchester. But yeah, Bradford looks nice. Rather green. I must say, it is very green. Yeah, nice city. Nice city. Alright, let's make our way to Manchester. We'll be checking out Old Trafford. Unfortunately, the Etihad Stadium isn't as good in this game, so. But yeah, state intervention. Like I was saying, what they're going to end up doing is actually driving up the prices for everyone. And you can see, you can set your clock to it. In a year, 2 years from now, they're going to start talking about raising taxes to pay for all of this. I promise you, give it a year or two, they'll start talking about, oh, everyone needs to chip in. Like Mam Daddy would say, the warmth of collectivism. Everyone needs to chip in. Bloody hell. So is he going to fix it? Frankly, I don't. The way things are, I generally don't think there's a politician who can. If by fix it we mean make things better. In fact, the only way to fix it is for them to do absolutely nothing. And by them doing that, it completely invalidates the reason for existing. The raison d'être. It completely invalidates it. So they will do something. They will do all they can, which will in fact worsen the situation. And of course, as the spending goes up, and as they try to tax more, people are going to leave. Those of us who are part of the productive population will just end up leaving. Because the cost of living is rising, taxes are increasing, savings are diminishing. What else is the point of staying? When there are other countries that are more favorable, better weather, much better weather. Hope we all just end up leaving. And as that happens, the tax revenue is going to drop. They are not going to cut spending because that's politically unpopular. You don't get voted by saying I'm gonna spend less. Even though that's the right thing to do. So that means the deficits are going to rise. The deficit spending will rise. And the bond market doesn't like that. In the UK, it's called the Gilts. They do not like that. So higher yields are coming. I keep talking about it. Higher yields are coming. The UK's total fertility rate is less than 2.1. So demographics aren't great. Which is why they're insisting so hard on bringing in more immigrants. But at the same time, they're saying, "Oh, those of us on on a skilled worker visa, they'll try to make it harder." And let's talk about actually the whole thing about the skilled worker visa. So in the UK, they're trying to say, "Oh, if you're on a skilled worker visa for 5 years, it's no longer going to be 5 years. They're going to extend it to 10 years." So it's a 10-year wait to get permanent residency. But the idiots don't realize that those of us on skilled worker visa actually contribute a lot in terms of taxes. And we don't take anything out of public funds. But the reason they're saying, oh, we'll make it 5 years is for that very reason. Because so many people came in during Boris Johnson's term that they're worried that so many people who are immigrants will now start claiming benefits and they can't fund it because the money simply isn't there. Guys, remember, there is no money there. It's empty. They're borrowing. It's empty. It's like someone funding their lifestyle on a credit card. That is literally the UK government. It is empty. So as they get fewer and fewer skilled workers, oh man, the view is absolutely scrumptious. Scrumptious. So as they get fewer skilled workers, tax revenue goes down, deficit spending goes up, bond yields are going to rise because bond investors are like, look, you can't afford all of this spending. And your massive spending is, in fact, inflationary. It's devaluing the currency. So I want more. I want more for the money that I'm loaning to you. So give me higher bond yields. Of course, when that happens, mortgage rates are going to rise. The cost of borrowing has increased. So the housing market is cooked. The real estate market is cooked. As mortgage rates rise, demand for homes decreases. As demand drops, home values decrease. As home values decrease, the government gets less in sales from real estate. So government revenue is going to decrease further. And that's going to increase the deficit spending. And the spiral just keeps going down. It can't be saved, guys. If by save we mean in making things better, it gets worse before it gets better. That is the point I'm trying to make. It's going to get worse until it gets better. Before it gets better, sorry. So all the hopes that people have of, oh, this is going to be the government that fixes things for us. Okay? We're now in Manchester. Let's get lower so we can see the city centre. By the way, Manchester is not a one-to-one recreation like London is, so don't expect anything phenomenal. Yeah, that's Etihad over there on the left, if you can see it. It's a flat texture, so it's not like Old Trafford or even Bradford City or Stamford Bridge. For some reason, Microsoft didn't think they don't think Man City is big enough to actually improve the stadium in the game. So that's a shame. But Old Trafford's really good. We'll see it coming up ahead soon. There's the Etihad on the left there. And let's head over to Old Trafford. So yeah, I'm telling you, no matter who is in power, that's why they keep changing prime ministers like that. No matter who's in power, it's just going to keep getting worse. The same for France, same for Germany, same for the US, same for Spain, Portugal, Italy, Japan. Even though they're Asian, they're Western. They're really a Western country. They're under the thumb of the US. So there's Old Trafford coming up shortly. They're all cooked. The most important thing, guys, is the bond market. That I'm telling you, that is the most important thing. Don't focus on all the fireworks going on in the political sphere. Yeah, Old Trafford is spectacular. The most important thing is the bond market. Absolutely spectacular, Old Trafford. absolutely spectacular. After this, we'll be going to Goodison Park and then Anfield. Although I am aware that Everton has moved from the Goodison, so I wonder if they've got the new stadium in the game. So yeah, there's your view of Old Trafford. And if you want to know how important the bond market is, that's the whole reason Liz Truss was outed. That's why she was fired after a month. Yeah, that's beautiful. Because the 10-year gilt yield, I think it hit about 5.4%, or was it 5.2? And there was this whole panic like, oh my gosh, she's gonna ruin the economy. So they kicked her out after a month. But joke's on them because the yield is much higher now than it was when she got sacked. It is so you can argue it's worse now than when she got sacked. But there's no uproar. Focus on the bond market. That is all you need to know. Focus on the bond market. As yields go higher, politicians are sweating. If they're going lower, it means that at this point in time, it means that they're printing to do yield curve control because there's no demand for bonds. The world is awash in debt. There is just no demand for debt anymore. So if you see the yields going down, just know that they're doing yield curve control. They're printing, they're borrowing to buy their own debt. That's what America just did to help out Japan. Central banks are now buying gold. The Central Bank of Korea just announced that they will be buying more gold. Whereas in the past, the safe haven was the US Treasuries, the US bonds. It's going to get worse before it gets better. And I do believe it's going to get better. Like, look, the future is bright. We just need to get over this hurdle. That is it. We just have to get over this hurdle. But believe me, it's going to take a while. It really will. We would have gotten there in 2008 had they not printed so much to, once again, save the economy. They intervened and look at what happened. Every action they take in the economy makes things worse. And that's why I made the video about not sleeping on Africa, because man, I can't think of many better places to see this out. Especially as someone in the diaspora, I generally can't see a better place to see this whole thing out. Let's get some exterior view going on here. We are approaching Liverpool. I think we're due for a heat wave later this week in the UK. It's said to reach 34 degrees in Manchester. I'd wager it will be the last one of the summer. But yes, please don't watch this video thinking I'm a doomer. I am generally optimistic. Just that you do have to plan for the season and the season ahead. For those of us who prepare, it's going to be a phenomenal opportunity. For those of us who don't, man, sad hours. It would be sad hours. That's why I keep making these videos. I know the reaction ones get way more views than the economics videos, but honestly, these ones are far more important. These are far more important. So if you're still watching up to this point, congratulations. You're far more knowledgeable than the average person. I just hope you're preparing. I hope you've got a plan in place. I hope you've put some of your savings in gold and silver. Hey, the miners are also a good opportunity, gold and silver miners. Just pick the best of the best. No need to take on too much risk. Stay out of debt. Please, for the love of God, stay out of debt. You do not want to be owing anything heading into this environment. Like, so first up is Goodison Park. I'm not actually sure where Everton's new stadium is though. Maybe we'll come up against it, but that's Goodison there to the right, and then Anfield is to the left. Trying to look around me to see if I can find. No. Can't find it. Alright, let's see what Goodison has for us. I've been there in real life. It's at least a Liverpool stadium. It's quite the experience. Anfield, you can. I think Goodison is about a 5-minute, 10-minute walk from Anfield. Of course, it's further away now. Everton's new place, but it's quite surreal to see stadiums that close together. Alright. Welcome to Liverpool. Welcome to Liverpool. Of course, first up is Goodison. There we go. You can see Everton's logo there as well. That's sick. That is sick. Then we've got Liverpool's Anfield to the left. Also very beautiful. Gosh, that's magnificent. That is magnificent. It's crazy how accurate they can get the models when they try. Once again, Goodison Park there, and then Anfield. Alright, let's bring this baby down to land. So the main takeaway of this video, guys, is do not put your faith in any one politician. In fact, put your faith in none of them. Take matters into your own hands. The politicians aren't coming to save any of us. And you've got to prepare. I keep iterating this, because if you prepare, okay, and it doesn't happen, okay, you lose nothing. If you don't prepare and what I'm saying comes to pass, which I believe is the higher probability option or scenario, man, you do not want to play around. Trust me. All you have to do is study history and you'll know what's coming. Like I'm saying, look at how things are getting worse progressively year by year in the UK. There have been 6 prime ministers since 2016. 6. To put that into perspective, the way the UK's electoral system works is, I think a politician's term is 5 years, and they've had 6. Oh, brother. They've had 6. So really, the UK should be having its 2nd Prime Minister since David Cameron. If things were normal right now, but they've had 6. Of course, David Cameron stepped down after Brexit, so that brought things sooner, but my word, man. My word. The country's in trouble. The country is in trouble. And of course, as we're seeing things worsen, there's the rise of, anti-immigration sentiment. Things are getting more and more violent.
Kojo Air 17 Whiskey Lima, November 5510 is 3 miles northwest.
Alright,
1000.
let me just turn here. We're gonna bring this plane into land.
Kojo Air 17 Whiskey Lima, November 5510, Liverpool Tower. QNH 102 tree. Make left base runway 09er. Enter left base runway 09er. Kojo Air 17 Whiskey Lima, November 5510. Kojo Air 17 Whiskey Lima, November 5510, wind 110 at 5. Clear to land.
This has been a very enjoyable flight. Very enjoyable.
Clear to land runway 09er. Kojo Air 17 Whiskey Lima, November 5510.
There's the runway to the left. I think I've overshot it slightly. But yeah, don't let what I'm saying panic you. There is, like I said, phenomenal opportunity to come out of this situation better than you've even entered it. Ooh, slightly unsteady here. Let's bring the flaps down. And please, guys, share this video out. There are so many people who don't understand what's coming. All they're doing is consuming mainstream media, and mainstream media will never tell you any of this. They will never tell you any of this. All right. A very soft. Oh, that was buttery smooth. Oh, oh.
Kojo Air 17
Yeah, I'm pleased with that. I'm pleased with that. Buttery smooth landing. Let's just get this off the runway and we'll call it.
Kojo Air 17 Whiskey Lima, November 5510. Turn next taxiway. Kojo Air 17 Whiskey Lima, November 5510.
All right.
Contact ground on 121.955.
Well, there we have it, Kanekis. I generally hope you've enjoyed this. Hit the like button, subscribe. Consider becoming a channel member as well. Check out my Substack for more and the stock evaluator app I've done, because like I said, the gold miners, silver miners, oh, the gold miners and silver miners, those are the ones who will end up profiting the most from what's coming. So use that app to look at the best ones, to find the best ones. Let me know what you think below. Do you share my sentiments around the UK economy, around Burnham? Do you think he might actually end up fixing things? Personally, I don't, but I'm interested to hear what you think. And I'll see you guys in the next one. God bless. Peace.